Hello and welcome to What's Your College Story with Alaconis. I'm Katie Stroud, and today we are here with my mom, Fermina, or Fermi Cotterell. She's here to tell us about going to school and getting pulled out of school and raising four kids doesn't make going to school easy, so she did a few things along the way, and we're going to hear all about it. So, welcome. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at now, and what you're doing with your life?
And for me, Katie's mom, which I'm very proud of all her accomplishments. She has gone a long way through all the problems she's had that we've worked together to get done her schooling. My biggest problem with all my children were education is the most important. Whether you go to high school, you go to college, you go to uh, whatever. I think I'm being blocked.
You're
Okay.
not being blocked. You did sink a little though, so I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. There was a line across the microphone.
Oh, we could still hear
So,
you.
anyway, everything to me as I had my children was education was the most important thing in life. For the reason that I was not able to have that education that I wanted so bad. I was taken out of school in 10th grade because there was 9 children. My mom couldn't really speak English, so about the only thing she could do was house clean. My daddy was disabled. He did a few jobs here, like collecting copper and taking it just to get extra money to feed us and stuff. So as we got to a certain age, we were taken out of school because school wasn't important. Work was to bring in money in to take care of the family. I was in 10th grade. It's the first time I remember I was so disappointed and so upset. My sister came up to me at school and she says, "For me, mom's on her way here." She says, "You need to get your stuff." She's really upset. She found out you had a boyfriend and she wants you out of school.
Oh, nuts.
So she says she's in the office. We need to go there to the counselors. The counselors were upset because I was doing really good in school. I mean, there's a few classes that, like math, that weren't important enough to me to worry about, but the rest of the classes, I knew they would help me in life. I find out now that math would have been one that would have helped me a lot in the choices I took in the jobs I had. Um, so we went out. Counselor said, "I'm really sorry to have you leave here." I was in tears, and my mom was giving me the look. You don't even be saying anything. Of course, she was afraid that they would find out I was getting abused.
Oh dear.
So we got out, we went home. I started looking for a job. Of course, I was almost 15. My first job was at, I still remember, Taco Phil's, making tacos. I learned how to run a register. I learned how to do routines to make sure everything got out in time. Uh, then I went to a place called Royal Fork. And I got to the point where I was managing a lot of it because we had a lot of slackers and I was doing a lot of the work that they should have been doing. So the manager came up to me and says, "You need to do your stuff and leave theirs." I said, "But if theirs don't get done, mine don't get done." He says, "Right. And this is the permissions I'm giving you to do." I'm like, "Okay." So I got to go in there. My mom found out I had been going to not really parties, but get togethers. And my boss was covering for me because he knew my life at home was not good. So if my mom calls, she says, well, I just send her out for supplies. She'll be back. And he would send somebody because the places I went were like the Rio Grande Zoo, which was 10 blocks away, or somebody's house was just a couple blocks away. And they would go get me. Your mom's on the way. Okay, I'm gone. Uh, so that
And
was one that I kind of was able to do something to better myself.
yeah,
And
so
then, of
let's back up a little
course,
bit. So this is all
okay,
happening in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and
yes,
kind of the rough part of town, the South Valley.
very the worst part of time.
Yeah, I hear it's gotten a little worse around the airport these days, but yeah, it's very a rough part of town. You went to Rio Grande High School. I went there. We moved there when I was in the ninth grade. Um so yeah, it's an interesting school, and so you liked school. You enjoyed being there and learning stuff. Um but you had to get out of it. You were kind of forced out of it. And from what I know, being your daughter, is that only one of the nine of you graduated from high school, which was the youngest, right? Auntie Kuka.
Actually, Auntie Josie graduated, but the last year she was through GED. So
Oh,
back then GED was like, oh, you didn't graduate right, and you can't go to college because you didn't get the graduation. You just did GED.
well, that's
My
not
youngest
just back
six,
then. That's even today. It's
even
still,
now.
yeah. There's something about being in class and going through the full program that people see as a bonus. But I don't know. These are the kind of things that I created Eliconis for, as you know, that everyone learns a little differently at different paces, and if you have to go through the same pace as everyone else, I know my son, being in fifth grade, he gets a little bored, and he could go through all that stuff a little faster. But getting back on track. So your mom came, pulled you out of school. You have to help take care of the siblings. You have to get a job to support the family. And you're learning stuff on your job. You're working hard, and it was, like you said, it was a way that made you felt kind of worth something to someone. And even having your manager cover for you, because you went to somewhere like the zoo,
Yeah, a party at the zoo.
party at the zoo. You party animal.
That's right.
Pun intended
That was
there.
later on in life.
I live in a zoo, so I get that. All right, so you're working, um, you meet someone, you get married, you move out of the house. I mean, is
Yeah, I
there any?
married. That's where I met and married your father.
Okay. So now you're married and you're having children. So there's three of us, me and my two sisters, all born in a row. So you're pretty busy with that, housework and stuff. Did you ever attempt to have a job while we were little, that little?
I did. I worked at the commissary sacking groceries
Okay.
during the time that your dad was off because he did 24-hour shifts.
Oh
So
boy.
I would be able to go because you didn't have to have certain hours. You could just go in and say, can I work today? And pretty much you work for tips.
Nice.
So being that I was getting money, he was all for it.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it was all three of you. I would go in 2, 3 hours. I would walk out there was half a mile away. And I really enjoyed it because I'm a people person and I like to be around people. I like to talk to people. I like to help people. But I didn't have too much of a chance doing that.
Right.
being married.
Yeah, I know marriage and having kids changes that a little bit. So I know that when mine were little, I enjoyed working for the same reasons. I enjoyed being around people. And one of the most important lessons I learned from being your daughter is that knowing people is survival in a way. Like we survived and got through some hard times because of the friends that you made. Um, I've actually given a lot of talks about that as well. So thank you for that lesson. Um, okay, so you're so for people that don't know, the commissary is like the groceries, the department store uh,
Grocery
on
store.
on base on a
Yes.
military base. And so you got to be there and interact with people, bagging groceries. Probably pregnant, right?
No, no, when I
Not yet.
was working there, I was not pregnant.
Okay, so um, all right. So then things kind of went away. They were went a wrong way, and you got divorced, and we're kind of moving across the country. But later we settled in the Pacific Northwest. I remember I was just about to turn 7 when we moved to Washington State. Um, and there's a whole lifetime from when I was born to being 7, but we won't go into that. But so now we're in Washington. You've settled down with a stepdad, and life has stabilized. So we have a home. You get a job, and you start thinking about school again. I remember when I was 10, you had brought home this portable, I say portable in quotes, a portable Commodore 64 computer, and that thing was like a giant suitcase with a little bitty screen. And I remember you teaching me about the programs you had to run on it. Like it was base 10, so you created these lines of code that would create little games and stuff. Plus like I remember the computer and playing with it and learning stuff on it, but I don't know the story about where it came from.
I was working at a bookkeeping place.
Oh, okay.
And because of the things that were going on at that time, my boss decided that if I had a computer that I could work from home at least a couple, 3 hours, be home. Once you guys got home from school, I could be there. And so he bought this Commodore. Like you said, this little tiny screen about that big. I could barely see it.
You're right.
Thank goodness I could see then.
Mhm.
And the keyboard clipped onto the actual computer, which was like, like you said, like that,
It was
heavy.
it's
It was
heavy, it's
heavy.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was so excited. He showed me how to run it because I was running the computer for the first time, running a computer in
That had to have been about 1984,
busy in 85.
85. Okay.
Yeah. And the reason I had this job was because I had to go to work. I was given some choices about going to school. I went to, was that 85? Yeah, I went to school and I had gone in for office management, like secretarial and things like that. And because of the grades and the courses I was taking, my math scores, which is really scary, were like way up there. They were A's, A pluses.
Right.
Uh, all the programs I was running were like way up there. My typing skills, my not necessarily typing skills, but running the keypad
Hmm.
was really high. I wasn't a turtle back then, but unlike now, uh, I mean, my scores on that were really high. So they switched me to bookkeeping. I said, I don't want to do bookkeeping. that's nothing but math. I hate math.
Hmm.
And they were like, no, the way you're learning and the things you're doing, this would be the best course for you because you're doing excellent. And let's at least try it, see how you do. And of course, I graduated with a assistant accountant in
I,
bookkeeping,
I remember seeing that certificate when you got it. I was so,
and I still have it.
yeah, yeah. I remember watching you at the dining room table doing your homework, and it inspired me. It inspired me to do well in school.
Well, I'm glad I was able to do that
Yeah.
because it meant a lot to me, for my children to know that education was important. And
Yeah.
kids learn by example.
And you did make that
Actually,
clear.
everybody does.
Yeah.
And I did what?
And you did make that point to us. It was very clear that we needed school to do better in life.
Yeah, you weren't going to get anywhere without it. And it didn't mean like you're trying to teach everybody college and university, even though you did do all that. Tracy's done all that. Antonia's had a few uh, college courses. She's in one now that she's done amazing, just like all three of my daughters have.
Right.
Tracy's a teacher with all her degrees. You're with all the degrees. I can't remember exactly all the degrees you've had,
Just
but
one
you,
actually. I've been
well,
asked if I would go back for, more degrees or, like so I got a bachelor's. And people have said, well, you're going to go back for your master's or your doctorate. And the thing was, is I already had a good job. I was making decent money and I didn't need it. And if there's something I want to
yeah,
learn, well, today I can go and learn it in any way that I can. The thing about college and learning from you, education is important. Do it. And if college is what you have to do, then do that. Um, it's a sacrifice. And we all had children young. Um, and and I don't mean, just a sacrifice for money. You sacrifice your time. When you have kids, when you're raising kids, when you're trying to pay rent and live on your own. And my daughter's learning this now. She's got a job, but she said this job isn't going to be enough. I need a second job because they're not giving me enough hours. It's really hard, and she's trying to do school at the same time, and she doesn't have kids, and so
yeah.
she's struggling even without kids, and we had to do it with kids. And back then that was kind of the option. You had college or community college, and you had like one-off courses. Like yours through the school? Was it through Clark College or was it through something else, like a program?
Through a program, I want to say social services, but I don't think that was. I had to get on, I hate saying this, on welfare because of the situations that we were in. I
Hmm.
couldn't stay home and take care of you guys with the problems we were having and still make it. And welfare was not going to do it. So I asked, is there any kind of programs I can get into? Can I do this? And so they put me through a bunch of testing to see what I would be good at or what I could do. And so I went in and I got these courses through them to help better my life, help better my children's life. And it worked. It worked that I was able to get that degree, even though,
Yeah,
like,
so let's go to that next phase. So it didn't really work out for you because, well, as we mentioned before, you enjoy being around people And the degree, the certificate that you got put you into an office with nobody else around,
Yeah,
sitting at a
except
chair in front of a screen all day.
my boss was let's say he wasn't a very nice person towards women. He liked to make remarks and
Hmm.
try to, get me to go out with him. And he was like probably 30 years older than me, dirty, nasty. The office was, I don't know how he found records or anything.
I remember that office. It was,
Dirty.
yeah, it was not an ideal, but it it was cluttered and it was dusty, and I remember that. And I remember, well, there's no people around, and
Yeah.
that's what you needed in life. Um,
Yes. And so I reorganized the office. I was able to put files where they belong in order and numbered, and I was able to get the customers that we needed instead of looking for them for half an hour. I was able to go to that organized, which I need to do to my office, uh, area where it wasn't taking me so long to get. I mean, the time I could have been using to do the bookkeeping, to do the taxes, to talk with these people about why you should do this and why you should do that. I was having to look for the records. So from there, I just couldn't do it.
right. So from there, you took on a factory job. I think that's when you went to Kyocera.
Yes, I
Uh,
forgot about that one.
yeah, so that's the one where I won that trip to Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was manufacturing computer chips. Uh,
Yes, ceramic. Those were actually ceramic chips,
right.
not like the ones we have now.
Yeah. I think they're still in business, innovating.
Very, very small
Yeah. But
section of it is working.
yeah, and I don't think they have the same factory presence that they used to in
Right.
Vancouver. Um, yeah, so and you did a few factory jobs. You worked at Intel. You were telling me before we hit the record button that there you were working with some programs that somebody noticed.
Yeah, that was it. When I came back from California and I got this new job, it was called Radial Antennas. And I was in two or three different stations, but when I got to the station where the antennas had to be dipped for conductivity. I have
Connectivity.
problems with the words. uh, and they weren't coming out right. Antennas were coming back, not working, and things like that. So we were trying all these different things, and I got into the area where there was a big tank. I don't know how many degrees of heat. If you put your finger in there, it was going to burn it off
Hmm.
because it had to melt all this rubber.
Okay.
Um, so this big thing, we would put all these antennas in on this rack, and you had to leave them in there for so long, and then take them out, let them drip, sand them down where the drips were, and then tap it again, make sure it didn't get to the metal. And again, a lot of it wasn't working. And I would say, okay, maybe we need more heat. Maybe we need a little more of this or a little more of that. And the engineer actually noticed that I was changing things. He says, did somebody tell you you could do that? I says, no, but this other stuff, everything's failing. And, it's useless to try to do that. He says, are they getting tested? I say, yes, we've had about 4 or 5 lots that have came back 100% working. He says they have. I haven't seen anything about it. I says, well, go to the office. They have them in there because they just finished testing them and they're checking to make sure everything is at the level it should be. So he went back and then he came back to me, says, "What did you do? What were you doing?" I says, "Well, on some of them, I started out with putting a little more heat or taking off some of the heat. The one that worked was putting just a little tiny bit of heat, changing the rubber that was getting put in there, the chemicals. And then another one, I can't remember what it was, but it it changed what was happening with the antennas, and the engineer was pretty excited about it. He says, "We've been fighting with these for about 6 months, not coming through because they were new antennas." And he says, "I'm going to put you in charge of this area, this department. Whatever you do, make sure you write it down, make sure you're, you know, showing everything you're doing, and train somebody else to do it, or have somebody there training, helping you so that we can make sure it's double checked." I'm like, okay. I was like, I don't want to be in charge. I don't want to be a manager. I don't want to train anybody. I barely train myself.
Huh.
And so he put me in there, and I had one guy that was really, really on top of things. I had a few that were like, "I don't even want to be here. This is just a job." And so we worked in there. We did all the, you know, changes. And like I told you earlier, I believe most of those programs are still being used. The company has changed names and its company has changed
As they
the
do.
things they make, but the antennas are still being done there and sent somewhere else. So kind of makes me proud that I was able to do that,
That is,
because
that's
I was
exciting.
never, I grew up being told nothing I did mattered, nothing I did, was
Yeah.
worth it. As my sisters, e- we were nothing but good for raising kids or helping around the house.
Yeah, and
And
that's something that was propagated out there. I know when we moved back to Albuquerque for that year that I went to Rio Grande, that same high school that you got pulled out of. I know that I heard it more than once from different sources that the school had bars on the windows because they were just getting us ready for prison.
let me get that straight. It was Antonia went to Westgate. That building had actually been built to start a prison.
Wow.
And it had no windows except very high up. It was 2 stories, and those are where the offices were, teachers and stuff like that. And they had very small windows.
Yeah.
And Antonia, being the way she was, she couldn't hold her mouth most of the time. And
Like most of
she went
us,
up
by the
to
way.
yeah, she went up to the teacher and she says, "Why do we not have any windows? It's really hard to learn when everything's so dark, and we can't go anywhere or figure out how to do it because I mean you can't do anything." She said, "Well, first of all, windows cause kids to be distracted, and looking out the windows doesn't help. And second of all, we're just preparing everybody to go to prison because that's where most kids in this area are going to go." She
Yeah,
says,
see,
"So
that's
get used to
terrible.
it." And Antonia goes, "There is no way I am going to go to prison. If I have to get out of the school, if I have to go learn at home, I'm going to do it, but I am not. And I know my mom's going to be with me. I am not ever going to go to prison for the fact that I had, was it three? No, it's just two of my brothers and one of my sisters that had been in prison by that time. And a lot of it was my brothers, mostly drugs, but they were making a living by selling the drugs and ended up in prison. They actually got education in there, which was good. And my sister, the same way, she was trying to uh, be able to support her kids, feed them, clothe them, give them the things they needed. And so she was doing the drug things, selling and stuff. And
Yeah, kind
um,
of, well, like we mentioned, it is a rough part of town. And I know
yeah,
my high school, it had windows, but it did have bars on the windows, and not because we were going to prison, but I don't know, is to
'cause it was
keep,
dangerous.
it was to keep people from breaking in and stealing the stuff in the classrooms.
Yeah,
So, yeah. So, yeah, that's rough, and you grew up in that environment with that sort of, I know, I tell the story that as much as you hammered in that education was important, um, well, I had a child out of high school and didn't go to college, and even though I always thought I would go to college, and I eventually did, I I had this sort of, I don't know, this something holding me back that just kind of under the surface said school is for other people. It's not for
yeah,
us. We're not the kind of people that go to college and become doctors and lawyers and
we're not good
whatever.
enough.
Yeah, and even though no one ever told me that directly, there was something about that culture that we came out of that kind of laid that as that mindset.
Yeah,
So so that's one of the reasons I'm building Alaconis is to address those people that grew up in that same mindset that you can't go to college, and in a lot of ways they can't. It's not because they can't afford it or even make the sacrifice for the time to do it. It's that a lot of colleges have entry requirements. You had to, like you had said before, a GED won't get you into college. You have to have good grades, which when you're out there trying to survive, grades are not that important. I mean, you were doing good before you got out of there, but you were taught that school is not really important. What comes first is taking care of the family, going to work, um,
eating.
eating, yeah, finding, right? Just day to day, finding your daily bread kind of a thing. Um, so moving on to like looking forward, you've done some really great things. You've learned things. You've learned things on the job. You've just by doing a job, you have this sort of work ethic that says do your best, which developed a new way to coat antennas because they weren't working, and you figured out how to, you played around with that to make them work. And you've talked to me before, and we're going to use Elaconis to kind of help you figure out what that next step is, and I think we'll come back for another meeting on that. We're releasing the product in just a couple of weeks to a small group for testing the first phase. And I'd love to work with you because you've expressed a desire to learn something new, something that you can take to market, a marketable skill that can earn you a few bucks. I mean, um,
Make me feel like I'm not dead to the world. Like I can do something. I can learn something. I can make something of myself
right,
instead of being home doing nothing.
right, being retired, it's like you get into just working
Retired.
in your yard or you get tired. And I know you just moved to a new place, and you mentioned that you're still working on making friends out in that area, which I know you'll do, but um, looking for something that will be something that's not sitting in an office with nobody around, that is in fact working with people in some way, using your creative skills and innovations, right? So yeah, I'd love to come back to that on another day when we have more time and the product is live, so we can play around with that and see what it says about what what recommendations could you do?
We now have a computer that works right.
Yeah, yeah. So
That took a lot of time.
yeah, so this episode is going to go live a little bit later than usual just because it took a while to get
It
set
had
up.
that problem.
But that's okay.
Sorry.
It's working now. Your
Yeah,
sound and your beautiful face is coming through.
just like my daughter.
Oh, well, I get my looks from a very beautiful source. So,
Thank
all
you.
right. Well, I think we've gone a little bit over time, but I know there's still more to talk about. I want to say thank you for joining us and sharing your story. I know a lot of people have been excited to hear it. I was just talking about it last night at a entrepreneurs startup support group. So they're looking forward to seeing today's episode.
There
And
is one thing more. Can I express my
of
feelings?
course, of course,
Okay, you wrote a thing up for Mother's Day. All you kids have this thing about making me cry.
oh, come on.
Like for Christmas, for Mother's Day, for birthdays, you guys would write me a song or sit there together and make a little play or draw some things for me. Ever since you guys were like 4 or 5 years old, you'd bring some crayon. I still have some. I saw them the other day. But I get to a point where I'm like, I'm feeling down. I feel like I didn't do anything that was worth it in life. And then something comes up like this thing that you just did on moms, and it makes me feel like I actually did something. I did what I wanted to do in life. I wanted to have kids, be a good mom, raise them to be good adults, and I did it.
You did.
That was my goal. All my kids have just become very awesome. And I know my youngest sister's always telling me, for me, you're an inspiration to me. You helped me make sure that I taught my kids that education was important. Kuka, thank you, in case you get to see this. So I just wanted to thank you for writing that because it gave me the renewal of feeling like I did something right. So thank you. If anybody can see that video, I would, or that post, it would inspire quite a few people.
I'll
So
I'll
thank you.
I'll put the link in the YouTube description down below so that people can click on that from this video, and I'll
Okay.
share it also along with a summary of this interview.
Okay.
And you've inspired all of us. I know that the nights that I saw you working late, I know the you taking the graveyard shift to so that you could be available for us during the school day for field trips or any other kind of chaperoning kind of things that we need.
Award ceremonies.
I know around Christmas time I was shopping, it was late, and I had this huge basket of just all the groceries to feed all my kids, and I was so tired. I'd been working so hard all day, and a thought came to my mind about you and how hard you worked all the time, and it made me smile to be in that position, to be able to um you know the it was hard work and I was tired and I was loading stuff into the car, but it felt good. It felt good that I had this life, that I have these kids that I'm supporting and taking care of. And that is the reason that
You did it all.
I did it all. And that's inspired me again and again. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching today. We will have Fermi back again to showcase what Ella Cannis can do to help her figure out where she's going in her next chapter, which can also help all of you. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.